Hello, hi again to Dr. English YouTube channel. This is Dr. Mafi, a PhD in Applied Linguistics, and I've been teaching English for many years now. Today's lesson is very important, but a little bit maybe complicated. So I want you actually to pay close attention, right? I'm going to talk about a special position of the adjectives. Well, if you want to know more about the adjectives, you better go to my other video on the same YouTube channel, Dr. English YouTube channel, and let me know what you think about the adjectives there. I explained about the different typology of the adjectives and the definition of adjectives. So to be short, actually, adjectives are words. Actually, it's one of the four major parts of speech. Adjectives are words that describe a noun, okay? Well, so far, you already are familiar with the position of the adjectives, and normally they come before a noun in English. Maybe in your local language or mother tongue, it comes after the noun. So we have different actually positions of the adjective depending on what language you are looking at. But English has the adjectives, in fact, mostly located before the nouns, mostly. Well, so far, you know what I'm going to talk about, the position of the adjectives, positions of the adjectives. Well, we have attributive position of the adjective, that is actually before a noun, all right? Like all the adjectives except a few, all right? So most of the adjectives in English can be placed before a noun, not after, before a noun, like lonely, like sleepy, like interesting, boring, or thousands, millions of adjectives that are there in the English language, all right? But we also have another position of the adjectives that cannot be used, or a special set of adjectives that cannot be used before a noun, cannot be used before a noun. So where do we place them in the sentence? Normally they come after a linking verb, after a copula verb, linking verb. And for those of you who are not familiar with the linking verbs or copula verbs, refer to my other video about the linking verbs, all right? I explained about the linking verb, especially in that part where I'm going to talk about, or I already talked about the 95% of English, all right? There, I explained the two major formula or structures we use in English, and the second formula or structure includes the linking verb, all right? So after the linking verb, we can use these adjectives, such as, well, this is the predicative position, right? Alone, sleep, interested, bored. Well, if you have noticed, I've divided the first two from the last two, even here in the attributive part or position of the adjective, all right? Here are the examples I gave you, all right? So the examples for attributive part or attributive position in the sentence, like a lonely person. Lonely comes before a noun, which is a person. Sleepy students. Sleepy, adjective. This is the attributive adjective coming before the noun, students. Or interesting, an interesting book. A boring movie. These are the other examples. So you can imagine many, many more examples that are there, right? Now we come to the predicative position of the adjectives, like alone. And normally these set of adjectives starting with A, and we normally pronounce it with schwa, which is a particular phonemic or phonetic symbol. If you refer to my other video about the pronunciation, phonemic symbols, you get to know what I'm talking about. So alone or sleep, this is the first set. I divided from the last two, the latter ones. So the former examples are, he's alone. He is alone. This is a linking verb. This is like the to be form, right? Or copula verbs. I feel asleep. I feel asleep. So you cannot say an alone person. This is wrong. You can say a lonely person, but not a lone person. So you always have to bring alone after the linking verb. They can never be used or placed before a noun in English, all right? Likewise with the sleep. Any adjectives are starting with A, all right? So like I feel asleep. I feel asleep. Sleep, right? Beginning with the schwa, of course, not sleep. So I feel asleep, right? So you cannot say I am an asleep person. You have to say I'm a sleepy person, right? Anyway, and some adjectives, actually, that is made up of or composed of a verb plus ed normally, which is the PP form, the past participle form of the verb. This is another way of calling it, right? So like interested, bored, embarrassed, shocked, frightened, all right? So these set of adjectives come from that origin, meaning verb plus ed, if it is a regular verb. If it is an irregular verb, then the PP form, the past participle form. Anyway, these are the examples. He's interested or she's interested, right? She's interested in that movie, for example. You look bored. You look bored. I look bored, for example. Although I don't, well, look bored. Anyway, so you always bring these adjectives in the predicative position, meaning after the linking verbs, after the copulative verbs, okay? Only. You cannot use these set of adjectives in the attributive position. You have to bring them or use them in the predicative position of the sentence. Well, these last set of two, all right, these ones and these ones, I somehow put an arrow and directed it to these three other examples. Normally, they are like this, and there are many verbs in English that can be somehow explained or imagined like these. For example, this movie, it interests me. It interests me. This movie interests me, all right? This book interests me or bores me. Well, I use the verb here. This is the verb, interest. But I can change this verb into adjectives. How? Either in the attributive sense of the word or the adjective, like it is interesting, this movie is interesting for me or to me, or I am interested in that movie, right? I am interested in it, if you want to continue it. I'm interested. So this one is the predicative position. This one, interesting, attributive position. But this one is the verb. So both of them somehow originate from a verb. That's the original sentence or the deep meaning, basically. All right. So there are lots of verbs like this, as I mentioned, like frighten, like shock, like embarrass, like bore, like interest, and so on and so forth. So if you have any questions, you can know what to do. Actually, drop any comments or questions in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.